The morning light in the colony hospital barely touched the sleek metallic floors when the alarm rang, piercing the quiet. The emergency bay doors slid open with a hiss, and a group of alien handlers rushed in, carrying a creature unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was massive, with greenish-blue scales that shimmered faintly, and eyes that glowed with a soft, eerie light. Its limbs were long and powerful, ending in claws that could easily rip through the walls if it wanted. Every movement screamed strength, and yet it was clear that the creature was in pain. The staff froze. Whispers ran through the room. "It's from the TheFinalSpecies. They don't accept human treatment," one nurse muttered, stepping back nervously. Another shook their head. "No one has ever touched a TheFinalSpecies before. They fight anyone who tries." The creature's growl rumbled through the bay, low and threatening, sending vibrations across the walls. It looked around with suspicion, its glowing eyes scanning every human face. Most of the medical team panicked. They muttered and argued, unsure of what to do. Some wanted to sedate it, others suggested calling for specialized alien medics. But Elias Kane, the human veterinarian, stood calmly at the corner of the room. He didn't flinch, didn't step back, didn't raise his voice. He simply observed. His eyes studied the alien, noting every twitch of its muscles, every shallow breath, every subtle shift in its posture. He could feel the tension in the air. The alien wanted to strike. It wanted to run. It wanted to scream. But Elias knew fear and patience were stronger weapons than fear and panic. The other humans were frozen by the alien's power. Elias moved forward slowly, his hands open and relaxed, his gaze steady but not threatening. "Easy, buddy," he whispered under his breath, almost as if talking to himself. The words were soft, calming, careful. No one else dared speak. The alien's eyes flicked toward him, curious for a fraction of a second. The growl faded slightly, replaced by a low hum, almost like a questioning sound. Minutes passed. The alien made no sudden moves. It merely watched Elias, wary but intrigued. He took another small step, careful not to rush, careful not to frighten it. The other staff could hardly breathe, holding their hands to their mouths, afraid to even blink. The alien tilted its head slightly, sniffing the air, studying the human in front of it. Elias knelt down slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. His eyes never left the creature's. "Easy," he said again, softer this time. "I'm not here to hurt you." The alien shifted its weight, claws scraping lightly against the floor, testing him. It hissed, but it didn't lunge. It didn't roar. It stayed just out of reach, sizing him up. The room was silent except for the alien's labored breathing. Elias noticed the creature's injury, a deep gash along its shoulder, bleeding slowly but painfully. It was raw, pulsing with each beat of the alien's heart. The other humans avoided looking directly at it. They were afraid of provoking an attack, afraid that one wrong move would end badly. But Elias didn't see a monster. He saw something in pain, something alive, something that needed help. He reached out a hand slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. "Easy, buddy, easy," he murmured again. The alien froze. Its glowing eyes locked onto his hand, studying it, measuring trust and danger. Elias didn't flinch. He didn't rush. He let his calmness speak louder than words ever could. Time seemed to stretch. The alien's breathing was ragged, its body tense like a coiled spring ready to strike. And yet it did not attack. It simply watched, curious as if testing the human's confidence. A soft sound, almost a purr, escaped its throat. Elias's heart pounded, but he maintained his composure. He knew this first moment of connection, this delicate balance of trust, was the most important. One wrong move and all hope would vanish. Finally the alien took a small step back, then froze. It was watching Elias closely, almost like it was thinking. Elias whispered one more time, "I can help you. Let me help you." There was no more bravado, no loud demands, just calm words, simple human words that carried patience and care. The other humans dared not move, afraid to break the fragile peace forming between man and alien. Elias studied the wound, silently calculating the safest way to approach, the first gentle touch that might save the creature's life. Every instinct in him told him to be careful, to move slowly, to earn trust rather than force it. The alien's glowing eyes softened for just a moment. It shifted slightly, letting the edge of its clawed paw brush against Elias's hand. Barely a touch, but enough to signal the beginning of a connection. Elias smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and focus. This was the start. The first small victory. And as he whispered again softly, "Easy, buddy," he knew the real test had just begun. The alien was still wary. It was still dangerous. But for the first time, it had not rejected him outright. Elias Kane had the patient's attention. And in that attention there was hope. Outside the bay, alarms quieted. The distant hum of the colony returned. But inside, a tense calm reigned. A calm built on trust, patience, and the human determination to rise above fear. The alien might not know it yet, but it had just met a human who would not back down, a human who could see beyond scales and claws, straight to the heart of what mattered most: care, courage, and empathy. The alien stayed still, its glowing eyes following every movement of Elias Kane. The other humans had backed away, whispering nervously to one another, too afraid to stay close. Elias didn't rush. He knew that any sudden movement could trigger an attack. Every muscle in the alien's body was tense, coiled like a spring. Its breathing was shallow, uneven, as if it was struggling between fight and fear. Elias understood instinctively. The creature didn't trust him yet, and until it did, he had to prove he was not a threat. He knelt a little closer, keeping his hands visible, and spoke softly, repeating the words that had already calmed it slightly before. "Easy, buddy, easy." His voice was low and steady, more a whisper than a command. It wasn't loud enough to scare, but strong enough to hold attention. The alien tilted its head slightly, observing him. It sniffed the air, catching the scent of Elias as if trying to figure out who he really was. Minutes passed in silence. Elias didn't make a single sudden move. He only breathed slowly, letting the creature feel the rhythm of his calm. The alien shifted slightly, moving one clawed paw, then stopping, unsure. It hissed softly, a warning, but it didn't step back. Elias saw this as a small victory. Every tiny gesture mattered now. He slowly extended his hand, palm up, fingers relaxed, letting it hover just a short distance away. The alien stared at it, its glowing eyes narrowing as it considered whether this human could be trusted. Elias whispered again, "I won't hurt you. I just want to help." He didn't force the issue. He simply let patience do the work. The alien let out a low rumble, almost like a growl, but Elias noticed a subtle change in the tone. The edge of anger or fear in it was softening slightly. He stayed still, careful not to overstep, letting the alien process his presence. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy, but he did not panic. Calmness, he knew, could speak louder than any words. The other humans peeked from behind a console, holding their breaths. None of them had seen Elias this confident, and they could hardly believe that he was managing to get this close without the alien attacking. It was a silent challenge, one that Elias had to win with patience and empathy, not with weapons or fear. He began to study the alien's injury more closely, trying not to make the creature feel cornered. The gash along its shoulder throbbed, and the alien flexed slightly as if it could not ignore the pain. Elias could see the tension in the muscles around it, the subtle movements that indicated stress. He knew that if he waited too long, the pain might provoke the alien into striking out. But he also knew that moving too quickly would have the same effect. Elias took another slow breath and whispered, "Easy, buddy, just a little closer." His tone was soothing, steady, almost hypnotic. The alien's eyes flicked toward him, studying the movement of his lips and the calmness in his posture. For the first time, it seemed to hesitate in its aggression. The growl that had been constant moments before was softer now, more curious than angry. The silence stretched. Every second felt like an hour. The alien moved a small step forward and stopped. Elias stayed motionless, letting it make the decision. The creature sniffed the air again, circling slightly, testing whether he could be trusted. Elias watched its eyes, noticing the slight softening around the pupils. This was progress. He reached into a small pouch at his side and pulled out a clean cloth, folding it carefully. Not to threaten, not to intimidate, just a simple tool that might be needed for treatment. He held it in his open palm, letting it rest there, visible but non-threatening. "Easy, buddy. See, I'm not here to hurt you," he whispered. The alien's head tilted again, a small gesture, almost as if it were acknowledging him. Time continued to crawl. Every movement mattered. The alien's body tensed and relaxed in subtle waves. Elias kept his voice low, calm, and patient. It was a silent challenge. The alien tested him with every step and every look, and Elias responded with patience, not fear. He knew this moment was crucial. Trust had to be earned, it could not be demanded. The alien took another cautious step closer. It sniffed Elias again, this time without growling. Elias smiled faintly, whispering once more, "That's it, easy, buddy." The creature's stance softened slightly. Its claws still hovered in the air, ready to strike if needed, but there was a change. A small shift in energy that suggested curiosity and hesitation had begun to outweigh aggression. Outside the bay, alarms remained silent, and the hum of the colony continued. Inside, a tense calm existed. Elias stayed kneeling, hands open, letting the alien dictate the pace. It was a test of patience, will, and understanding. Slowly, the impossible was beginning. A human and a creature that rejected all human help were beginning to understand each other without words, without threats, simply through quiet determination. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the alien paused directly in front of Elias, breathing heavily but without a single strike. Elias's calm had begun to chip away at its fear. One cautious eye looked directly at him, the other flicking toward the wound. Elias whispered once more, "I can help you, buddy, just trust me a little." The alien stayed still. It had not fully surrendered, but it had not attacked either. And in that moment, the first fragile bridge of trust formed, silent but real. Elias Kane had accepted the silent challenge, and for the first time the impossible seemed possible. The alien stayed tense, every muscle coiled as if ready to strike at any second. Its glowing eyes followed Elias Kane with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. The other humans had all backed away, hiding behind consoles, afraid to even breathe. Elias didn't move too quickly. He had learned in the last few minutes that patience was the only way to get close. He lowered himself slowly, keeping his hands in full view, moving inch by inch. "Easy, buddy, easy," he whispered softly. His voice was calm, steady, carrying no threat, only care. The alien shifted slightly, its claws scratching the floor lightly, but it did not strike. Its breathing was heavy and uneven, each breath a reminder of pain, but also of trust being slowly tested. Elias studied the wound carefully. It was deep, along the alien's shoulder, ragged and bleeding. Any wrong touch could provoke the creature into attacking. He kept his eyes locked on its glowing gaze, moving very deliberately. "I just want to help," he whispered again. The alien's head tilted, one claw twitched, and it tested him with a small step forward. Elias didn't flinch. He stayed still, letting the alien feel that he meant no harm. Slowly he reached out his hand, palm open, just short of touching the alien. The creature froze, claws raised, every instinct screaming to strike. Elias's heart pounded, but he kept breathing slowly, letting calmness flow through him. "Easy, buddy, just a small touch," he murmured. The alien's glowing eyes narrowed, scanning his hand, measuring whether this human could be trusted. Seconds stretched like minutes. The alien leaned its head slightly closer, sniffing the air around Elias's hand. It made a low rumble, warning or curiosity, Elias couldn't tell. He held his ground, letting the alien decide. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, one of its claws hovered over his hand but did not touch. Elias's breath stayed calm, his hand steady. Every microsecond mattered. Finally, with a cautious flick, the alien allowed the tip of its claw to brush against Elias's open palm. It was a light contact, almost testing him, and Elias smiled faintly. "Easy, buddy, easy," he whispered again. The alien stiffened but didn't pull back. For the first time, it seemed willing to allow a human near its injury. Elias moved slowly, using a soft cloth to gently clean around the wound without touching it directly yet. The alien flexed its muscles, ready to strike, but something in Elias's calm voice and gentle movements made it hesitate. It was still wary, but it was no longer aggressive. The first touch had broken the barrier. He continued talking softly, describing each movement as he prepared the treatment. "I'm just going to help, that's all. Easy, buddy." The alien's glowing eyes followed each step. It was watching, learning, testing him silently. For the first time, the creature seemed to understand that Elias's intentions were different from all the humans it had encountered before. The other humans peeked from behind their consoles, astonished. None of them had ever seen someone get this close to a Vrylox without being attacked. Elias's calm determination, patience, and empathy were winning where brute force would have failed. He began to gently apply a healing gel to the wound, careful to make the alien feel no sudden pressure. The alien hissed softly but stayed still, its glowing eyes fixed on Elias's every move. Minutes passed. Every action Elias took was deliberate, careful, and slow. The alien's breathing grew steadier, its body relaxing just slightly. Elias kept whispering soft words of reassurance. The alien's claws, once ready to strike, now rested lightly on the floor. Trust was slowly forming. Finally, Elias leaned a little closer, his hands hovering over the injury but not pressing. The alien allowed it. It did not recoil or attack. For the first time, it seemed to understand that this human meant no harm. Elias whispered, "Almost done, easy buddy, almost done. Every movement showed the alien that humans were capable of patience, intelligence, and care. The alien moved its massive head closer, letting Elias carefully inspect the wound. It flinched slightly when he applied the first touch of the healing gel, but didn't strike. Elias kept his calm, whispering reassurance with every action. Step by step, the alien began to relax. Its body tensed less with each passing second. The other staff watched silently, unable to believe what they were seeing. A human had done what no other being had managed: earn the trust of a species that refused human aid. Elias Kane continued his work, speaking softly and moving slowly, showing that humans could be strong, courageous, and kind at the same time. By the time the wound was partially cleaned and treated, the alien had allowed multiple touches, moving only slightly away but never attacking. It let out a low hum, a sound that was almost approval. Elias smiled faintly, whispering once more, "Easy, buddy, easy." The creature tilted its head, meeting his gaze fully, signaling the first sign of respect and acceptance. For the first time in its life, the alien had allowed a human to approach, touch, and begin healing its pain. Elias knew the next steps would be even harder, but this first touch was victory enough for now. It was proof that patience, empathy, and courage could overcome instinct and fear. The bond had begun, and for humans, it was a reminder that trust and care could achieve what strength alone never could. And in the quiet of the emergency bay, a tense calm remained. The alien still glowed faintly, watching Elias carefully, but now with curiosity instead of aggression. Elias Kane had won the first battle, not with weapons or force, but with the simplest human tools: patience, calm, and kindness. The alien's breathing was steadier now, but its glowing eyes still watched Elias Kane like a predator waiting for a mistake. Elias did not rush. He knew the creature's trust was fragile. One wrong move and the progress could vanish in a heartbeat. He worked slowly, letting his calm energy fill the room, and whispered again, "Easy, buddy, easy." He examined the wound carefully. The gash along the shoulder was deep, ragged, and pulsing with pain. Elias applied the healing gel with gentle, measured strokes, making sure not to press too hard. The alien flinched slightly but did not strike. Its claws hovered above the floor, ready, yet it stayed still, watching. Minutes passed, and the alien allowed him to continue. Elias spoke softly, describing each action as he cleaned and treated the injury. "I'm just helping you," he said. "No one will hurt you here." The alien's eyes blinked slowly, a sign that it was beginning to trust his words. Every movement showed Elias's patience and control. Elias reached for a small medical device that could accelerate healing. He didn't wave it or force it toward the alien. He placed it on the floor, letting the alien watch. "This will help, buddy," he whispered. The alien tilted its head and stepped closer, curiosity winning over fear. Its body still tensed occasionally, but it no longer hissed. He cleaned the wound completely, removing dirt and dried blood. The alien's breathing was becoming more even. Elias could see the stress in its muscles fading slowly. He applied a thin layer of the healing gel and let it soak in, keeping his hands close but not touching too much. The alien's glow softened, the sharp lines of anger easing. Elias noticed something important. The alien's posture was changing. It wasn't as defensive as before. Its tail, which had been whipping nervously, now lay almost still. Elias whispered softly, "Almost done, buddy. You're doing great." The alien hummed, a low, vibrating sound that seemed almost approving. The other humans watched from a distance, amazed. None of them had ever seen such calm and trust form between a human and a Vrylox. Elias moved with quiet confidence, speaking gently, letting the alien know every touch and motion was safe. Slowly, the creature shifted closer, letting him inspect the wound more thoroughly. He applied a thin bandage, careful not to restrain or frighten it. The alien did not resist. It even let out a small sigh, almost human in its sound. Elias smiled faintly. "See? Easy, buddy, easy," he whispered. The alien's eyes blinked slowly, signaling something akin to relief. Elias continued working, keeping his focus entirely on the alien. He could feel a subtle change in the air. The alien's energy was calmer, less chaotic. Its glowing eyes were no longer full of fear and suspicion but showed something new: acceptance. Elias whispered encouragement with every action, letting the creature know he was not just treating a wound but offering help without threat. Time seemed to stretch as Elias worked. The alien allowed him to clean, apply gel, and gently inspect the injury multiple times. Each touch was careful and deliberate. Elias spoke softly throughout, telling the alien how strong it was and how it was helping itself heal. The alien made no sudden moves, no aggression, just cautious observation. Finally, the wound was fully treated. The gel had absorbed, the bandage secured, and the alien's breathing was steady. Elias stepped back slightly, letting the creature move freely. It shifted, testing the comfort of its healed shoulder. No pain, no hissing, no attack. Just cautious movement. Elias smiled, whispering one last time, "Easy, buddy, see? All done." The alien made a low, approving hum and circled around Elias once. It stopped in front of him, lowering its massive head slightly. There was a moment of silent acknowledgement, a gesture of respect between species. The other humans, still hiding, could hardly believe their eyes. A human had healed a Vrylox without weapons, threats, or force. All it had taken was patience, calm, and understanding. Elias knelt down slightly, keeping his hands open, letting the alien see he meant no harm. "You're safe now," he whispered. The alien blinked slowly, almost like it understood. It took a small step closer, pressing gently against his hand. It was a quiet moment, almost cinematic in its simplicity, a human and an alien forming a bond through care, courage, and empathy. The colony's medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of the alien and the gentle beeps of the machines. Elias remained calm, observing the creature. It had not only survived but had begun to trust him. This was more than healing a wound. It was proving that humans could be brave, patient, and compassionate all at once. Outside, the colony continued its busy day, unaware of the silent drama unfolding within the bay. Inside, a new respect had formed. The alien stepped back slightly, keeping its glowing eyes on Elias, no longer fully defensive, no longer aggressive. Elias whispered, "Easy, buddy. I've got you," and for the first time, the creature seemed to relax completely. For humans, this was a small but significant victory. The first real proof that patience, intelligence, and care could win over fear and instinct. For Elias Kane, it was a quiet triumph, a moment that showed what humanity could achieve when it faced a challenge with courage and empathy. And as the alien finally lay down, no longer tense, the bond between them was clear. It was not forced or demanded, it was earned, slowly, silently, and patiently. The healing had begun, and with it, the foundation of trust between species had been built. The alien moved slowly, testing its healed shoulder, its glowing eyes still watching Elias Kane carefully. But this time there was no hiss, no growl. Its body, once tense and coiled like a spring, was relaxed. Every muscle seemed lighter, freer. Elias remained kneeling, hands open, speaking softly. "Easy, buddy, you're safe now." His calm voice filled the room, steady and gentle. The other humans had returned, peeking around consoles, their faces full of awe. None of them could believe what they were seeing. A human had earned the trust of a Vrylox, a creature that had refused all help from their species. It was a silent acknowledgement that patience, courage, and empathy were more powerful than brute strength. The alien stepped closer to Elias, circling him once, almost like a large feline sizing up a companion. Its claws scraped lightly on the floor, making soft clicking sounds, but it did not attack. Elias smiled faintly, whispering again, "Easy, buddy, see? I told you it would be okay." The alien paused, lowering its head slightly. The glow in its eyes softened further, and it let out a low, vibrating hum, a sound Elias recognized as a sign of respect in this species. Elias carefully reached out, resting his hand near the alien's shoulder without touching it yet. The alien leaned slightly into the gesture, a subtle but clear sign that it had accepted the human. This small movement was monumental. All the fear and hostility from the first moments had vanished, replaced by cautious trust. For a creature that had never let a human near before, this was extraordinary. The other staff members watched quietly, holding their breaths. They had seen many things in the colony, but this moment felt like history. Humans had proven themselves not through weapons, machines, or dominance, but through courage, patience, and understanding. The alien moved closer, brushing its massive head against Elias's hand gently. It was almost ceremonial, a bow of respect, a silent acknowledgement that humans could be allies, even equals, in unexpected ways. Elias whispered softly, "Easy, buddy, good job." He didn't need to speak loudly. The alien understood him through tone, presence, and calm energy. Slowly, it lowered its glowing eyes, almost like it was bowing. Elias saw the significance immediately. The creature had accepted him, and in doing so, it had shown that trust and respect could cross species. The alien circled the room, its movements confident now, yet careful. Every step showed that it felt safe. Its breathing was steady, calm. Elias watched, knowing this was more than physical healing. This was emotional, mental, and social healing. It had learned to trust a human, and humans had proven themselves worthy. It was a quiet but undeniable victory for humanity. Elias stood slowly, giving the alien space, and spoke gently, "You're strong, smarter than you know. You survived, and now you can trust again." The alien's head tilted as if it understood, and it gave a soft, approving hum. The bond was complete. It was subtle, unspoken, but powerful. This was not just a healed creature. It was a companion, an ally, and proof that humans could rise to the challenge of any situation. Outside the bay, the hum of the colony continued. Machines beeped, alarms rested quietly. Inside, a quiet calm filled the room. The alien stood beside Elias, relaxed, watching him with a curiosity that was no longer mixed with fear or aggression. The staff watched in awe, witnessing what no one else had thought possible. Elias finally crouched and rested a hand lightly on the alien's shoulder, just enough to show continued trust. The creature leaned slightly into it, and for the first time, it stayed still, letting a human touch it without resistance. The moment was cinematic, like a scene from an epic story. Humans and aliens standing together not as enemies, but as beings capable of understanding one another. The alien gave a low, rumbling sound, almost like a purr, signaling full acceptance. Elias whispered one final time, "Easy buddy, we're friends now." It responded with a slow blink and a gentle hum. The bond was real, earned, and undeniable. Humans had faced fear, danger, and skepticism, and through patience, courage, and empathy they had won, not by overpowering but by connecting. The other humans slowly approached, marveling at the scene. Some took careful steps to offer assistance, but Elias shook his head gently. "No, just give it space," he said softly. "It knows we are not here to hurt it." The alien lifted its head slightly, acknowledging the humans around it without fear. In that moment, Elias Kane understood something profound. This wasn't just about healing a creature. It was about proving that humanity could rise above instinct, fear, and prejudice. That humans, even when faced with beings that doubted them entirely, could earn respect and trust through compassion and courage. The alien finally turned, walking a few steps away, then stopping to glance back at Elias. Its glowing eyes softened, a gesture of trust and acknowledgement. Elias whispered one last time, almost to himself, "Easy buddy, we did it." The story ended with a quiet, cinematic feeling. No loud explosions, no dramatic battle. Just trust earned, fear overcome, and a bond formed that would never be forgotten. Humanity had won hearts, not through force but through courage, patience, and empathy. And in that moment, Elias Kane and the alien stood side by side, proof that humans could rise to any challenge and leave a lasting mark on the galaxy.